Sam lived on a small ranch at the edge of town. His ranch was not very big, but it had enough space for a few animals and a small garden. There were sunflowers along the fence, chickens that clucked happily in the yard, and a horse named Ruby who loved to roam near the barn. Sam liked the quiet life. He enjoyed waking up early, feeding the animals and watching the sun rise over the fields. Life was simple, calm, and peaceful. The ranch had an old wooden gate. It creaked sometimes in the wind, but it was strong and kept the animals safe. Sam always made sure the gate was closed. A small sign hung on it, painted in bright letters, "Keep gate closed." He had made the sign himself. He knew that even one careless driver could scare Ruby or let the chickens run away. Sam checked the gate every morning and every evening, and he felt safe knowing it was secure. One afternoon, Sam was sitting on his porch drinking a cup of tea when he heard a car approaching. He looked up and saw a red SUV coming down the dusty road. It was moving fast. Sam frowned. The driver slowed only slightly as she reached the gate. Sam waved his hand, hoping she would stop and close it, but the SUV passed through without a pause. The gate swung behind the car and bounced against the posts. The chickens clucked loudly and ran toward the far end of the yard. Ruby neighed softly and walked toward the fence, watching the car leave. Sam shook his head. He felt annoyed. He thought, how can someone not care about a simple gate? He wanted to yell at the driver, but the car was already gone. He walked over to the gate and checked the latch. It was fine, but he noticed it had been pushed roughly. The sign he had made was still there, but clearly the driver had ignored it. The next morning, Sam told his neighbor Leo about what had happened. Leo was an older man with a kind face and a wide smile. He had lived in the area for many years. "Sometimes people don't notice things," Leo said calmly. Maybe she did not see the sign. "Don't take it personally." Sam nodded but did not feel better. He knew the SUV might come back. He could not let it happen again. The animals depended on him. He walked along the fence, checking for any weak spots. Ruby followed him quietly, her ears moving as if she understood. The sunflowers swayed in the breeze and the farm felt peaceful again, but Sam's mind was restless. 2 days later, the red SUV returned. This time it pushed the gate even harder. The latch rattled and one of the chickens flew up in surprise. Ruby neighed loudly, stepping back from the fence. Sam rushed to the porch and shouted, but the driver did not stop. She waved briefly and drove away. The gate was left swinging, almost wide open. Sam felt frustrated. He walked to the gate, holding it steady. He fixed the latch and thought about what he could do next. He decided to make a note. Using neat handwriting, he wrote, "Please close gate. Animals need safety." He tied it carefully to the post, hoping the message would reach the driver this time. The next morning, Sam watched the gate from his porch. He did not need to wait long. The red SUV appeared again. The driver looked straight at the new note, then glanced at the gate. Sam held his breath, but the SUV kept moving. The gate swung open as the car passed through. Sam's shoulders sank. He realized the polite notes were not enough. He needed a better plan. Sam sat down on the porch with a sigh. He looked at Ruby grazing calmly, at the sunflowers turning toward the sun, and at the chickens pecking the ground. He loved his ranch, and he would not let anything harm it. He made up his mind. He would find a way to stop the driver. He wanted a plan that would work without anger or shouting, a way that would make sure the gate stayed closed and the animals stayed safe. He did not know what that plan was yet, but he knew one thing. The red SUV could not just drive through his gate again. Sam took a deep breath, feeling the calm air around the ranch. He thought about the gate, the animals, and the quiet life he wanted to protect. He was ready. The next time the SUV came, he would be ready. The red SUV returned sooner than Sam had expected. It rolled down the dusty road under the bright morning sun. The sound of the engine reached the ranch before the car appeared. Sam was already on the porch, eyes fixed on the gate. Ruby lifted her head from the grass, ears twitching, sensing the approaching vehicle. The chickens stopped pecking and gathered near the barn. As the SUV neared the gate, Sam felt a familiar tightening in his chest. He hoped the driver would notice the new note he had placed the day before. But the SUV did not slow. The gate swung wide and the latch rattled again. One of the chickens ran toward the fence in panic, flapping its wings. Ruby neighed softly, stepping back. Sam rushed down the porch steps and waved his arms. The SUV did not stop. The driver waved casually and drove away, leaving the gate open behind her. Sam's frustration grew. He held the swinging gate in his hands and let out a slow breath. "This cannot keep happening," he muttered. He looked at Ruby and the chickens, noticing how startled they were. He walked along the fence to check if anything had been damaged. The latch was fine, but now loose enough that it might break if hit again. Sam decided it was time to act differently. Notes and polite signs had not worked. He went inside the house and made a list of everything the SUV's careless driving could affect. On a piece of paper, he wrote, "Chickens can escape. Ruby could get hurt. Fence could break. Visitors could be surprised." He pinned the list near the porch, thinking that a visual reminder might help. Then he added a second note to place on the gate. "Please respect the ranch. Close the gate." Sam also spoke to his neighbor Leo about the problem. Leo was calm and thoughtful. He listened carefully while Sam explained everything that had happened. "I understand," Leo said. "Sometimes people are careless or busy, but if this happens too often, it can cause real trouble. Maybe you need a different way to show her the importance of the gate." Sam thought about Leo's words. He wanted a solution that would be safe and clever, not angry. He wanted the driver to notice the gate without feeling attacked. He imagined a way to make the gate and the animals more visible, something that could catch attention quickly. He decided to start observing carefully. The next few days, Sam stayed alert. Each time he heard the engine of the SUV approaching, he moved to the porch. He noticed that the driver seemed hurried, glancing at her phone and not at the road. She waved occasionally but never stopped. Each time the gate swung open, the chickens scattered, Ruby neighed, and Sam's chest tightened with worry. Sam realized that simply fixing the latch or writing more notes would not solve the problem. He needed a way to teach the driver gently but clearly. He did not want anger. He wanted awareness. He walked through the ranch thinking about what could grab attention without frightening anyone. Maybe a sound or a bright color, something unusual that would make the driver slow down and look. One afternoon, Sam tested a small idea. He placed a colorful board near the fence with a simple message. "Animals inside. Please close gate." It was bright and easy to read. He hoped the driver would notice. That day, the SUV came again. The driver glanced at the board but did not stop. Sam sighed and knew he needed to think bigger. Sam realized that he could not rely on hope alone. He needed a plan that would make the gate and the ranch impossible to ignore. He wanted the driver to stop automatically without thinking twice. He also wanted it to be safe without frightening Ruby or the chickens. Sam spent the rest of the evening planning quietly, walking along the sunflowers and checking the fence posts. The ranch was calm again, but Sam's mind was full of ideas. He decided that he would create a small surprise, something clever, that would make the driver pay attention. The next visit of the SUV would be the first chance to test it. Sam felt a little excitement mixed with nervousness. He had spent days observing, planning, and thinking about what would work. Finally, he had an idea that might succeed where notes and signs had failed. That night, Sam checked the latch one last time. He looked at Ruby, who nuzzled his hand, and the chickens, who slept quietly in the coop. The ranch was peaceful. The red SUV would come again. This time, Sam was ready to see if his plan could work and finally protect his animals and his gate. The next morning, Sam woke up early. The sun was soft and golden over the fields. Ruby neighed quietly, waiting for her breakfast. Sam poured her oats into the feeding trough while thinking about the red SUV. It had become a regular problem. Notes and signs had not worked. He realized he needed a clear plan. This plan had to make the driver understand the importance of the gate without anger or confrontation. Sam went into the house and spread a notebook across the kitchen table. Maria, his wife, joined him. She smiled and asked, "What are you thinking?" "I need a plan for the gate," Sam said. "The notes did not work. The driver keeps coming and leaving it open. We need something more clever," Maria nodded. "Let's make a small list," she suggested. "Why does the gate need to stay closed? What happens if it is open?" Sam picked up a pen and started writing. They wrote simple reasons one by one. Chickens could escape, he said. Ruby could run into the road. The fence could get damaged. Visitors could be surprised. Maria added, "People might get confused or hurt if the animals wander." They pinned the list near the porch and in a bright place by the gate. Sam hoped that having clear reasons would help anyone who came through notice the importance of closing it. But deep down, he knew words alone might not be enough. After the list, Sam had another idea. He went to the hardware drawer and found a small security camera he had bought months ago. He installed it on a post near the gate. The camera was small and shaded under the eave. From the porch, it could see the entire driveway. Sam tested it and watched the screen. The view was clear. He could see every car that came. "I want proof," Sam said, "and maybe the driver will notice if they see the camera." Maria nodded. "It will also help us understand how fast they come and how they behave." The next day, the red SUV returned. Sam watched from the porch as the car approached. The camera recorded every movement. The driver glanced at the new signs, even looked at the list, but did not stop. She waved quickly and drove through. The gate swung wide again. Sam felt a mix of frustration and determination. "I think it is time for something different," he said to Maria. "Something gentle, clever, and impossible to ignore." Maria asked, "Like what?" Sam thought for a moment. "We need something that makes the driver stop and notice the gate. Not scary, but surprising. Something fun, maybe even a little funny. Something they will remember." Over the next few days, Sam sketched ideas on paper. He thought of colors, sounds, and shapes. He wanted to catch attention without anger. He imagined a small wooden panel, painted with animals and bright letters. He thought about adding a sound that would activate when a car passed, something that could say "hello neighbor" or make a friendly animal sound. It had to feel like part of the ranch, natural but noticeable. Sam and Maria gathered materials. They chose wood, paint, and a small motion sensor connected to a speaker. They painted a cow on the panel. The cow looked friendly, smiling as if greeting visitors. The letters above it read, "Quiet crossing. Animals nearby. Please close gate." The motion sensor and speaker were hidden behind the panel. When the sensor detected movement, it would play a sound. A cow mooing followed by a gentle voice saying, "Hello, neighbor. Please close the gate." Sam tested it several times. The sound was loud enough to be noticed, but soft enough not to frighten Ruby or the chickens. Sam and Maria placed the panel near the gate, blending it with the surroundings. The sunflowers made a natural frame, and the panel looked like part of the ranch artwork. Sam stepped back and smiled. He felt ready. "This could work," he said. "It will surprise the driver, but it will also teach her to respect the gate." Maria nodded. "It is clever, gentle, and it protects the animals. Perfect." Sam went inside to check the camera one last time. The red SUV could come at any moment. He felt a mix of nervousness and hope. The clever plan was ready. The gate was secure. The ranch was peaceful. But this time, the driver would notice. Sam looked at Ruby, who grazed quietly. He patted her neck. "Don't worry, girl. Tomorrow we fix this." The next day, Sam would see if the gentle trap worked. The plan was set. The red SUV could not ignore it. And for the first time, Sam felt a little confident that the gate would finally stay closed. The morning sun painted the ranch in gold. Ruby grazed calmly near the barn while the chickens pecked in the yard. Sam stood on the porch sipping his coffee and watching the driveway. He had been waiting for this day. The panel with the painted cow and motion sensor was ready. Today he hoped the plan would finally work. Sam glanced at Maria, who was arranging fresh flowers in a small vase on the porch. She smiled and nodded at him. "It looks perfect," she said. "I hope it surprises her in the right way." Sam felt a mix of nervousness and excitement. For weeks, the red SUV had driven through the gate without stopping. Notes, signs, and even a polite list had failed. The animals had been startled more than once, and the old gate was at risk of breaking. But now the surprise trap was ready. At mid-morning, the familiar sound of an engine echoed from the road. Sam straightened up. Ruby lifted her head, and the chickens quieted as if they too sensed something important was about to happen. The red SUV appeared, turning onto the ranch driveway. Sam held his breath. The SUV approached the gate. The driver, as usual, looked around briefly but did not slow down. Sam felt his pulse quicken. As the vehicle passed the panel, the motion sensor activated. A loud, friendly cow moo filled the air. Then a cheerful voice said, "Hello, neighbor. Please close the gate." The driver's hands gripped the steering wheel tightly. Her eyes widened. She blinked and jerked the wheel slightly, bringing the car to a gentle stop just past the gate. Sam smiled quietly. It worked. The combination of the cow sound and the friendly voice had made her notice. She sat still for a moment, looking at the painted cow, the bright letters, and then back at the open gate. The red SUV had not stopped at anything before, but this time the surprise captured her attention. The gate swung gently in the breeze. Ruby neighed softly from nearby, and one of the chickens stepped closer to the fence, curious about the sudden sound. The driver stepped out of the SUV. Sam watched from the porch, careful not to make a sudden move. The woman approached the gate slowly. She looked at the cow painting and then down at the open gate. She reached out, carefully closed the gate, and latched it. Her movements were deliberate, showing that she now understood the importance of keeping the gate secure. Sam stepped onto the porch and waved. The driver glanced up and waved back, a small smile on her face. She seemed surprised but not angry or annoyed. Instead, she looked thoughtful, as if realizing how careless she had been in the past. "Hello," Sam called out. "I'm Sam, thanks for closing the gate." The driver nodded. "I didn't know it mattered that much," she admitted. I should have noticed before," Sam smiled. "It matters to the animals. Ruby can run into the road and the chickens can get lost. That's why the gate needs to stay closed." The driver glanced at the painted cow again. "That's clever," she said. "I didn't expect a cow to tell me to close a gate." She laughed softly, shaking her head. "I'll be more careful from now on." Sam felt relief wash over him. Weeks of frustration, planning, and patience had paid off. The red SUV had finally stopped ignoring the gate. The gentle trap had worked without anger or confrontation. It had captured attention in a fun and memorable way. After a short conversation, the driver got back into her SUV. She waved to Sam and Maria before carefully driving off, closing the gate behind her. Ruby neighed as if approving of the result, and the chickens returned to pecking in the yard unbothered. Sam turned to Maria. "It worked," he said, smiling. "Finally," Maria smiled back. "It was perfect, clever and gentle, the best way to teach someone without anger." Sam looked at the panel with the painted cow, standing brightly among the sunflowers. He felt proud. It was not just a trap. It was a lesson in patience, creativity, and care. From that day on, the red SUV would no longer drive through the gate carelessly. Sam knew he had solved the problem, and the ranch could return to its peaceful rhythm. Ruby nuzzled his hand, and Sam laughed softly. "Don't worry, girl. Everything is safe now." The sunflowers turned their faces toward the sun. The chickens clucked quietly, and the ranch felt calm and secure. Sam knew that a small surprise done with patience and care could make a big difference. After the red SUV drove off, Sam went inside and poured himself a cup of tea. Ruby grazed quietly in the yard while the chickens pecked at the ground. The panel with the painted cow still stood brightly near the gate, a silent guardian for the animals. Sam could finally relax. A few minutes later, he heard the familiar sound of footsteps approaching the porch. To his surprise, the driver of the SUV walked slowly toward the house. Sam stepped outside, smiling politely. The woman waved gently. "Hello," she said. "I'm Karen. I wanted to thank you." Sam raised his eyebrows in surprise. "Thank me?" he asked. "Yes," Karen replied, "for showing me that the gate matters. I didn't realize before. I was careless and I didn't think about the animals." Sam nodded. "It happens. I just want everyone to be careful, especially for Ruby and the chickens. They can get hurt if the gate is left open." Karen looked around at the ranch. Sunflowers lined the fence, Ruby grazed calmly, and the chickens wandered safely inside the yard. "It's beautiful here," she said. "I never really noticed." "I just used the shortcut because it was faster. I didn't mean any harm," Sam smiled. "I understand. Shortcuts can be tempting, but even small actions can affect others. That's why the gate is so important." Karen nodded slowly. "You're right. I didn't think about that. I should have stopped and closed it every time. I'm sorry for the trouble I caused." "It's okay," Sam said. "I just want to make sure it doesn't happen again. That's why I made the cow panel. It's meant to be a gentle reminder." Karen laughed softly. "It worked better than anything else could. I couldn't ignore it. The cow and the voice. It caught my attention immediately. I'll never forget it." Sam felt relieved. The plan had worked not only to protect the animals but also to teach the driver in a kind way. He realized that patience, creativity, and a little humor could accomplish what anger never could. "Would you like to sit for a while?" Sam asked. "I can make some lemonade. It's a nice morning." Karen hesitated, then smiled. "I'd like that." "Thank you. They went to the porch and sat down at the small table. Sam poured lemonade into 2 glasses and handed one to Karen. She took a sip and smiled, looking around the ranch. "I never realized how much goes into taking care of a place like this," Karen said. "It's more than just animals and fences. It's about patience and attention. I can see why the gate is so important now." Sam nodded. "Exactly. Every little thing matters here. One open gate can cause a lot of problems, even if it seems small." Karen looked at him seriously. "I'll make sure it never happens again. I'll close the gate every time, and I'll tell my friends who sometimes drive through this way. They should respect your ranch too." Sam smiled. "That's very kind. I appreciate it." They talked for a few more minutes about the ranch, the animals, and life in the countryside. Karen seemed genuinely interested in learning about the animals and how Sam and Maria cared for them. Ruby nuzzled Karen's hand gently as if welcoming her into the ranch. The chickens wandered closer, clucking softly. By the time Karen stood to leave, she looked different than when she first arrived. She seemed thoughtful, careful, and respectful. She waved to Sam and Maria before walking back to her SUV. This time she closed the gate carefully, making sure the latch was secure. As the SUV drove away, Sam leaned against the porch railing. He felt a deep sense of satisfaction. Not only had the trap worked, but the driver had learned a valuable lesson. She had changed her habits without anyone raising their voice or arguing. Maria came out with a smile. "It worked perfectly," she said. "The gate is safe and she seems to understand now." Sam nodded. "Yes, sometimes people just need a little attention and a gentle reminder. I think this was one of those times." Ruby neighed softly and the sunflowers turned toward the sun. The ranch felt calm again. Sam knew that from this day forward, the gate would stay closed. The animals would be safe, and a simple, clever idea had created respect and understanding. After the day Karen finally closed the gate and understood its importance, Sam felt a sense of relief he had not felt in weeks. Ruby grazed quietly, the chickens clucked calmly, and the ranch seemed peaceful again. But Sam knew that one day, someone else might try to take the shortcut through the gate. He wanted to make sure the lesson lasted. The next morning, Sam walked along the fence with Leo, his neighbor. Leo had helped him plan small fixes for the gate over the years and knew the ranch like the back of his hand. "You handled that very well," Leo said, nodding at the cow panel. "Sometimes people need a little surprise to notice things. The signs were polite, but the panel made them think." Sam smiled. "I wanted to be clever, not angry. The goal was to protect Ruby and the chickens, not to punish anyone." Leo laughed. "Well, clever worked. That panel is unforgettable." Sam decided to talk to a few other neighbors who sometimes used the road near his ranch. He explained the situation calmly, showing the painted cow and the motion sensor. Everyone laughed at the surprise sound and agreed it was a kind way to teach respect. They promised to remind friends and family who might drive that way to close the gate every time. The red SUV, with Karen driving, returned a few days later. This time she approached slowly. She stopped at the gate, checked the latch, and made sure it was fully closed. Karen waved at Sam and Maria as she drove off. Sam felt a sense of pride. Weeks of planning, patience, and observation had finally paid off. From that day on, Karen made it a habit to check the gate every time she drove through. She even told a few friends who occasionally used the shortcut about the gate and the animals. They followed her example. The ranch felt safer than it had in months. Sam no longer worried about Ruby running off or the chickens escaping. The cow panel stayed in place and became a small landmark. Children riding their bikes often pointed at it and laughed when the cow mooed. Travelers sometimes slowed down to watch, curious about the friendly voice that reminded them to close the gate. Sam noticed that even new drivers respected the ranch because of the panel. Maria and Sam added a small box near the gate with spare clips for the latch, just in case. Leo helped them reinforce the posts and ensure the gate stayed sturdy. The ranch felt calm, secure, and cared for. The animals seemed happier too. Ruby spent more time near the barn without pacing nervously, and the chickens moved freely without fear. Sam noticed a change in himself as well. He waved to drivers more often, smiled at neighbors, and felt a sense of pride in finding a peaceful solution. The cow panel had taught more than just Karen. It had reminded Sam of the value of creativity, patience, and gentle guidance. One sunny afternoon, Sam stood on the porch watching the ranch. Karen's red SUV passed by and she waved after making sure the gate was closed. Ruby neighed softly as if greeting her. Sam waved back. The sunflowers swayed in the gentle breeze, and the ranch felt like it had returned to its quiet rhythm. The story of the cow panel and the clever trap slowly spread through the neighborhood. People talked about it with smiles. Some said it was the funniest way to teach someone a lesson. Others admired Sam's patience and creativity. But everyone agreed that it worked. The gate stayed closed and the animals were safe. Even Leo admitted that it had been a good idea. "Sometimes cleverness beats anger," he said. "You proved that, Sam," Sam laughed. "It is not just cleverness. It is care and patience, too. People respond when they feel seen, not blamed." The ranch had found its rhythm again. Each morning, Sam fed the animals, checked the fence, and ensured the gate was secure. Each evening, he closed the gate, knowing it would stay closed. The cow panel remained a small symbol of respect and awareness. Sam realized that a little creativity could make a big difference. It had taken weeks of observation, planning, and gentle teaching, but the ranch was safer and calmer than ever. Ruby grazed peacefully. The chickens wandered freely, and neighbors respected the rules. The quiet life Sam loved had returned, stronger than before. The ranch, the gate, and the animals were safe. And for Sam, that was the most important thing. Months passed since Karen had learned to respect the gate. The red SUV no longer drove carelessly through the ranch. Ruby grazed calmly near the barn. The chickens wandered freely, and the sunflowers turned their faces toward the morning sun. Sam and Maria felt a sense of calm they had not experienced for a long time. The ranch had returned to its quiet rhythm. The cow panel still stood brightly by the gate, its painted smile welcoming anyone who passed. The motion sensor and speaker were checked regularly, ensuring the friendly voice and cow moo worked perfectly. It had become a landmark of sorts. Neighbors mentioned it to each other, laughing as they described the clever trap that had taught a lesson without anger. Children often rode by on their bicycles, waving at the painted cow and giggling when the friendly voice spoke. One afternoon, during a small town meeting, someone mentioned the story of the cow panel. People smiled as they recalled how the red SUV had stopped suddenly, surprised by the unexpected sound. A few neighbors laughed while others nodded in agreement. Karen stood and told the story herself. She explained how she had ignored the gate before, how the surprise had made her pay attention, and how she had learned to respect the rules of the ranch. "I did not mean to cause trouble," Karen said. "I just wanted a shortcut. But Sam's clever idea made me see the importance of small actions. Now I make sure the gate is always closed, and I remind my friends too." Sam listened quietly, smiling. He felt proud that the gentle trap had not only protected the animals, but had also taught respect and understanding. People nodded in agreement, appreciating the cleverness and patience that had gone into the plan. The lesson had spread further than Sam could have imagined. The ranch continued to thrive. Ruby played near the barn, occasionally walking down to the sunflowers, and the chickens explored the yard without worry. Sam and Maria enjoyed their mornings on the porch, sipping tea and watching the gentle rhythm of life. The gate remained closed, strong and secure, its latch reinforced by Leo's help and the small box of spare clips that kept everything in place. Sam realized that the story of the gate and the cow panel was more than just about animals or fences. It was about patience, creativity, and understanding. A gentle reminder, carefully planned, could teach a lesson more effectively than anger or frustration. The surprise panel had created awareness, changed habits, and built respect. It had transformed a small problem into a moment of learning for everyone involved. Even neighbors who had never driven through the ranch began sharing the story. Some used it as an example of clever solutions in their own homes or farms. Others talked about it as a funny story to teach children about respect and care. The ranch had become a small symbol of thoughtfulness, patience, and clever problem-solving. Sam and Maria often walked along the fence, checking the gate, watching Ruby, and counting the sunflowers. Each day felt peaceful, full of small joys. Sam sometimes thought about the days when the red SUV had driven through carelessly. He smiled at how a little creativity had turned frustration into learning. He had found a way to protect the animals, teach a lesson, and maintain harmony. One evening, as the sun dipped low over the horizon, the red SUV drove by. Karen waved from the driver's seat, smiling. Sam waved back. Ruby neighed softly, and the chickens clucked quietly. The gate stood firm and closed. The panel greeted them silently with its cheerful painted cow, ready to welcome anyone who passed with respect and care. Sam felt a deep sense of satisfaction. The ranch was safe. The animals were happy. The neighbors had learned, and even a small surprise had created lasting change. Life returned to its quiet, gentle rhythm. The cow panel remained, a reminder that patience, creativity, and gentle guidance could solve problems. The gate stayed closed. Ruby grazed peacefully. The chickens wandered safely. The sunflowers continued to turn toward the sun. And Sam knew that the ranch, his animals, and the peaceful life he loved were secure, all because a small, clever idea had taught respect in the kindest way possible. Part 1. The Gate and the First Visit. Sam owned a small ranch on the edge of town. The gate was old but sturdy. A sign read, "Keep gate closed." Sam closed it every night. The ranch had chickens, a sleepy horse named Ruby, and a line of sunflowers along the fence. One afternoon, a red SUV rolled through without stopping. Sam saw the driver from the porch. She waved a friendly hand, then called out that the gate must be closed. The driver did not slow. Sam felt his face tighten. He thought the driver was careless and did not care about animals. He did not know then that this would happen again. Part 2. Repeated trouble. The red SUV returned the next week. This time it bumped the gate's latch and left it open. The chickens scattered. Ruby paced near the fence. Sam fixed the latch and left a neat note on the gate. The note said, "Please close gate." It was polite. The driver read it and shrugged. Sam watched the SUV leave with the gate swinging behind it. Sam told his neighbor Leo about the visits. Leo suggested patience. Sam tried patience for a time. The gate still opened after each visit. Part 3. The Rulebook and the Plan. Sam and Maria sat at the kitchen table and made a small list. They wrote reasons why the gate must stay closed. Chickens could wander. A car could frighten Ruby. They placed the list in clear handwriting by the gate. Sam installed a small camera on a post. He did not want trouble. He wanted proof and a way to explain things if needed. He also wanted the driver to notice. The camera was small and shaded under the eave. Sam checked its view the next morning. He saw the red SUV drive through and the driver looked straight at the new sign. The sign was ignored. Part 4. A Gentle Trap. Sam chose a gentle trap. He and Maria built a surprise that used sound and color. They mounted a wooden panel near the driveway with painted cows and a bright sign that read, "Quiet Crossing." Hidden behind the panel was a motion sensor that would play a recording of a cow mooing and a friendly voice saying, "Hello, neighbor." The sound was loud enough to be odd, but not loud enough to scare. The idea was to make anyone who drove through feel seen and notice the gate. The panel looked like an artboard. It fit the ranch and felt harmless. Part 5. The Day the Trap Worked. On a sunny morning, the red SUV came again. The driver swung through the gate with the same casual speed. The sensor caught motion. A cow moo played and the voice called, "Hello, neighbor, please close the gate." The driver jerked the wheel. She sat very still. Her face was a mix of surprise and amusement. Sam watched from the porch. The driver stepped out, looked at the painted cow, and then looked at the open gate. She closed it carefully and then looked around as if meeting an old neighbor. Sam felt his shoulders relax. The cow sound did what the notes and signs could not do. It made her stop. Part 6. A Conversation and a Change. The driver walked up the lane. Her name was Karen. She was not cruel. She was busy and forgetful, and had simply used that shortcut for a long time. Sam invited her to sit on the porch and offered lemonade. Karen explained she worked late and the gate slowed her. She thought no harm came from her shortcut. Sam explained about Ruby and the chickens and the danger of a loose horse. Karen listened. She admitted she had noticed signs before but had not paid attention. She apologized for the time she left the gate open. Sam accepted the apology and told her how much simple things mattered on a ranch. Part 7. A Neighbor's Pact. After that day, Karen changed her route at first. Then she learned to stop and close the gate every time. She also told a few friends who sometimes used the shortcut. The art panel stayed in place and became a small landmark on the road. Children pointed it out on their bikes. The cow sound made neighbors laugh. Leo helped Sam add a small box with spare clips for the latch in case it failed. The ranch felt calmer. Sam found a new habit too. He waved to drivers more often because the world looked kinder after a friendly moo. Part 8. The Lesson and the Story. Months later, someone mentioned the cow panel at a town meeting. People smiled and asked Sam about clever fences. Karen stood and told their story. She did not like being called out, but she spoke about how a small surprise changed her mind. The trap had not been mean. It had been crafted from patience, a little humor, and a clear goal to protect animals. Sam learned that clever actions can teach without anger. Karen learned that rules kept more than property safe. The ranch returned to its quiet rhythms. Ruby grazed. The sunflowers turned their faces toward the sun. The gate stayed closed most days, and when it did open by mistake, neighbors helped each other close it. The art panel still moved, and a few travelers still smiled when they heard a friendly voice ask them to be neighborly.